What responses do you think we would get if we were to conduct an informal survey asking people what they believe are the ingredients that make up a good story? I think most of the responses we would receive would revolve around, well, a good story is entertaining. A good story captures my attention and holds it all the way through. I think maybe some people would say, a really good story has got a surprise in it. It throws a curveball at me that no one would expect at all. And then I think some people would say a good story's got to have some action to it. Others would say, no, a good story's got to have some excellent drama. I think more thoughtful, reflective people would probably say something along the lines of, a good story needs to have a theme that illuminates the human experience. That by engaging with the story, we can learn something about ourselves and fellow human beings as well. We're going to be taking a look at a very memorable story in the Old Testament. Certainly so if you're reading through 1st and 2nd Kings. And I believe it is recognizable for two main reasons. One, the story can stand on its own. It's not necessary that we understand all the historical background and culture. But I think most importantly, I think the story that we're going to be taking a look at has a theme that we can all relate to on some level. Wow, what a story! We have a mighty, valiant warrior, a veritable weapon of mass destruction in the ancient Near East, a man that the Lord is using to humble his people, the people of the northern kingdom, the people of Israel. Naaman fights for the bad guys, the Arameans. I'll just remind you that Aram is in modern day Syria, and Aram was an enemy of Israel. Naaman's got everything going for him except for this. He's developed a skin condition. Now, pretty much all of our translations identify this skin condition as leprosy. But I've been reading for years that most scholars do not believe that this is what we would conceive of as modern day leprosy. It's probably just a catch-all category of various skin conditions. It could include psoriasis, where people develop rashes. It could include eczema. But whatever kind of skin condition he's developed, the important thing for us to understand is that in the ancient Near East, in that area of the world, those skin conditions were associated with being unclean, were associated with death. And so Naaman is facing being banished, basically removed from society. Now the story takes an interesting twist, an interesting turn. There is a Hebrew slave girl who serves, she waits upon Naaman's wife. And this is a real credit to Naaman's character, that instead of wanting him dead, this slave girl laments that they are not in Samaria, the capital of the northern kingdom, because she knows of a prophet who could heal him. I just want to remind you that when it comes to Hebrew narrative literature, the accounts only include the most important details. We probably have all sorts of questions and would want extra details. It feels like the account is compressed. The scene, boom, changes. And the next thing you know, Naaman is before his king. And he's relaying to this king what this slave girl has said. Now, Naaman being as valuable as he is, the king hatches this plan. And it's going to require some diplomacy, because Israel and Aram are frequently at war. At the very end of 1 Kings, you find the king of the southern kingdom and the king of the northern kingdom going to war with Aram to try to get back Ramoth Gilead. And the Arameans win. And so this king of Aram is going to have to use some diplomacy to be able to get his mighty warrior to get in there to the northern kingdom and to stand the possibility, just maybe, of getting healed. I do not know whether there was a scribal error or the king of Aram was incorrect when he was dictating the content of the letter. However, when the letter is delivered by Naaman to the king of Israel, who was probably Jehoram, the letter is incorrect. It indicates that there's the expectation Jehoram can heal Naaman. Jehoram wisely understands he can't do it. Only the Lord can do this sort of a miracle. And so he tears his garments, which normally indicates or is a sign of grief. It can also indicate other instances of intense emotional distress, such as fear. And so Jehoram was probably looking at this and thinking, you know what, this is some sort of a ruse. This is some sort of a pretext used that, hey, I'm not going to be able to heal this guy, so they're going to declare war and they're going to come fight against us. That's probably what he is thinking. Elisha, the prophet of the Lord, the man of God that God has used in mighty ways to do various miracles, he finds out about this king tearing his garments, Jehoram. And so he asks that Naaman be sent to him so that he, Naaman, would know, but then it's possible that it's Jehoram that he's thinking of, but so that people would know that there is a prophet in Israel. So the next thing we know, Naaman and his entourage shows up on the doorstep of Elisha's home. And once Naaman is able to get over his pride and his indignation, he is healed of his skin condition. The story of Naaman and Elisha, a short story that spans only 14 verses, presents us with some weighty themes that we could explore. The first one that comes to my mind is the importance of living a life of faith, acting on faith. Consider how different the story would have been if Naaman would have never acted on the information that his wife's Hebrew slave girl had made known. There's no way he would have been healed, right? Or however, let's say that he thought, you know what? Maybe there is a prophet of God in Samaria who could heal me. We're at war. We've been at war with Israel for quite some time. I just don't think the king of Aram, my king, would go for this. So I'm not even going to ask him. He wouldn't have been healed. Every step of the way, it was important for, well, I would say crucial. It was necessary that Naaman acted on faith for himself to receive the healing that God had for him. A second theme that jumps out at me is the importance of understanding how powerful our expectations are. Our expectations can control us in a profound way, and they can keep us from experiencing what God has for us. Naaman had a clear script in his mind for what his healing would look like. He expected Elisha to come out, greet him, and then carry on and act all demonstrative and, just make a big scene, and that's how he would be healed. But as a matter of fact, Elisha didn't come out and greet him. What did Elisha do? Just asked him to dip 7 times in the Jordan River. And because this didn't in any way conform to what Naaman thought was going to take place, he was so mad that he was seriously entertaining the thoughts of returning back to his homeland, and he would have missed being healed. I want to conclude this video by making a few remarks about a possible third theme, a theme that overlaps with the previous one I just mentioned about how powerful and controlling our expectations can be. This third theme is the importance of having humility. We just have to recall that Naaman was a mighty man, a man whose king held him in high regard. Undoubtedly, wherever Naaman went in Aram, people showed him the utmost respect. Now here he is. He's come into enemy territory, and he's expecting to be greeted by this no-name prophet. He's probably expecting to receive hospitality at the hands of Elisha. And yet, when Elisha can't even be bothered to greet him himself, but sends out a messenger with the instructions of what Naaman is to do, I have to believe that this is at least contributing to the fact that Naaman was incensed. Okay? He probably felt so indignant and disrespected, probably thinking, hey, you obviously don't know who I am. I'm a big deal. That's probably what his mindset was. And because of that, he ran the risk of going all the way back to Aram without receiving the blessing the Lord had for him. Thankfully, his servants were able to intervene and talk sense into him, and Naaman, to his credit, humbled himself, went out, dipped 7 times in the Jordan, and was healed. But this is an important reminder for us about the importance of being humble and not thinking too highly of ourselves. Now, that's easy for us to talk about in the church, but are we living with humility? What do you think? You can answer that question about yourself. I was reminded of the importance of humility recently. I went to a local Dunkin' Donuts, a place where I've gotten countless cups of coffee and donuts over the years, a place where I know quite a few of the staff and they know me, and we have some nice conversation when they're filling my order. However, when I showed up the other day, there were some employees there that I didn't recognize, and they clearly didn't know me. They were working hard to fill orders in the drive-thru. I was the only one standing at the register there in the dining room, actually inside the building. And I found myself to begin to lose some patience because they never looked up and acknowledged me. It would have been more than satisfactory if they would have looked at me and said, sorry, sir, let us get these orders done through drive-thru, and then we'll make sure that we get you taken care of. But we want you to know we're keeping you in mind. That would have been fine for me. But the fact that they were not even acknowledging my presence, I found myself to feel irritated. But then, as that started to happen, I began to kind of reflect. I don't know if it was the Holy Spirit or what, but I thought maybe the Lord was saying, Keith, stop taking yourself so seriously. Okay, yeah, it would be good customer service for them to at least acknowledge you and say, hey, we'll get back to you when we can, but who do you think you are? Okay, they're going to eventually get to you. It's not like they're not working at all. They're working hard, okay? Give them a break. And so I thought, yeah, that's a much needed dose of reality that's good for me. In conclusion, you could think of other things as well of this story of Elisha and Naaman. But I think it is a warning to us about the importance of living our lives by faith, not being controlled by our expectations, and making sure we are humble. Because if we do not live according to any of those 3 things, if we leave one of those out, we might very well miss out on a blessing that the Lord has for us. God bless you.